Should we worry about China? Well, that may seem like a strange question, but we seem to be living in an era where the power and the military might and the economic might of China is reaching the place where it might be able to challenge those things here in the United States. And we're living in an era when it's conceivable that everything in our world's been turned upside down by a disease that was intended to come from China to us. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying it's conceivable that it could have. I remember when I was a boy having enough empathy to wrestle with this question. I would be in my social studies class and we might be learning something about some other country, and I would think to myself, how sad it must be. Do the children in other countries, do they all feel like disappointed that they're not Americans? How blessed I was to be born into the most powerful nation in the world, the most wealthy nation in the world, the freest nation in the world. And how sad for those who are not. Well, that may not always be the case, at least with respect to power. We may be entering into the end of the American empire, and that end may be hastened by the ongoing growth and expansion of China. So should we be worried? Well, yes and no. We should be worried in the sense that we should be encouraging and promoting practices which are conducive to prosperity and well-being and liberty here. But I do know this, that from right now, the Chinese don't take my wealth, the Americans do. The Chinese are not spying on me, the Americans are. The Chinese are not suppressing my speech, the Americans are. It doesn't mean that won't change. It does mean that my worry needs to be about the real danger right now. What I'm trying to say is we need to be fighting against the real problem, which is not what country those who would take our freedom come from. It's the taking of our freedom that we ought to be concerned about. Do we need to be concerned about China becoming more economically powerful than the United States? No. You've heard the expression, a rising tide lifts all boats. It's absolutely true. The wealthier the world gets, the wealthier the world gets. So I'm cheering China economically. How about militarily? Well, again, a biblical perspective on the military is that God gave the military to protect whatever country the military belongs to. If the question is, can we throw our weight around as the holder of the whole world empire, or are we going to be checked by the Chinese? I don't care. If we can protect our borders, then I'm okay. Let the Chinese be the world's policeman for all I care. Doesn't matter to me because that's not what God calls any particular state to do. Now, do we need to be afraid that they're going to come and they're going to invade us and they're going to impose their rule? That could happen. I don't know that it will, but it could happen. But here's the other thing. Here's where we go back to the no. Whatever happens, whether we're oppressed by our own people, whether we're invaded and oppressed by other people, doesn't really matter. We're still living under the reign of Jesus. Whatever it is politically that you find yourself worried about, never lose sight of what God says in Romans 13. That every power is instituted by Jesus himself. We have nothing to be afraid. Wherever the Chinese might go, however big and powerful and wealthy they may get, however expansionist their plans may be, they will never reach to heaven and remove Jesus from his throne.